This is Taking Stock. I'm Bruce Whitfield, and I'm trying to freak you out because I'm at the SA Mint and I brought my R1 coin from 1966 essentially back home to the factory where it was made. We're inside the SA Mint where all of South Africa's coins are minted. The legal tender that you have in your pocket, plus all the collectible coins, the Kruger Rands, all of those sorts of things, limited edition series, and we'll learn about those today as well. I'm joined by Tumi Tshepo, who is the managing director of the South African Mint, and you've been on this site in Midrand, what?
Since 1989.
1989. Before
Yes.
that in Pretoria City Central?
So we were in the city centre in Versaghe Street. So actually that coin that you've got in your hand was made in Pretoria, was not made here in Centurion. Unfortunately, when we moved here, that's when we actually stopped making those big coins, and we were making the new ones that are in circulation today. 30 years we've been making the ones that are currently in circulation.
This was when a rand was really worth a rand.
And you've got a very special one there because that's the one that's got about 80% silver in it.
I hate to tell you what I paid for it because it's not worth the silver content. I was ripped off, but that's okay. It's a nice party trick for me to use. But
it means a lot to you, I'm sure.
Exactly, it's fun.
Yeah.
We are in the museum part of the Mint, and here, amongst other things, you've got Sammy Marks tickies, which were Paul Kruger gave the right to a man called Sammy Marks, who was a financier of the Kruger government, and his friend, the right to use the National Mint for a day in about 1898 or thereabouts, before the Boer War, to mint his own tikkies using gold rather than silver. And you've got like 5 or 6 of the things here.
We do, and I mean those are some of the most sought after coins that were ever made in South Africa, for exactly that reason that, you know, Paul Kruger and his friend, you know, had felt that they could come and play around at the Mint. Today we would never allow anybody to do that. But, you know, it's also part of the South African legend that has created some of the most sought after coins all over the world, whether it's the Beggar's Pond, the old ZAR coins, the Felt Ponder, and even the Sammy Marks coin.
I mean, here in this museum, you've got some felt ponder, and these were this was the money that as Kruger and his government moved from Pretoria to Barberton towards then Lorenzo Marks as the British were moving up through South Africa in 1900 and 1901.
Yes.
They were minting these coins in the felt.
They were running out of money.
Yeah.
They had this is part of the Kruger Millions, the legend of the Kruger Millions. And they needed to fund the war effort, and they actually had blanks on hand that had come from the Mint in Pretoria that had gone on the train, ended up with Paul Kruger and Pilgrim's Rest, or wherever it was in the veld, and they hand engraved these dies and put Ian Bond.
I'd never seen one before, but they're remarkably.
It's right here at the Mint.
They're remarkably precise. I mean, they are beautiful.
They are beautiful.
Coins, yeah.
You can see that they did make a good effort of making them look reasonable, you know, given the conditions in the veld. Now, very legendary.
Coins in South Africa were first minted just over 200 years ago, I think in 1815 or thereabouts, because up until then, coins tended to be imported. You've got VOC coins, you've got old sovereigns that the British would have brought here. But
the Kruger coins were not made in South Africa. They were imported, but they were the first ones made specifically for a town in South Africa. So they qualify as the first currency coins of South Africa.
So when I get a R5 coin with Griqua series on it, the significance of that is the 200-year anniversary of the first ever
in 2015, when we were commemorating the fact of the first coins that ever circulated that were meant for South Africa. Before that, all the coins would have been coins of the, you know, from other countries, whether it's the Netherlands or any other country. For the first time, we had our own coins that were made specifically for Kruger Town.
I mean, you recently announced the launch of a whole bunch of new coins. This is a 25 years of democracy coin. It's a R5 coin, legal tender. It's worth R5.
R5.
And it's got long queues of people queuing to vote. Here is a R2 coin. My old eyes don't let me see exactly which it is, but you've had a whole bunch of South African artists coming up and creating a whole new series of coins. And that's the wonderful thing I think about coinage, is that they represent a moment in time, and you can put the history on them.
We're very proud of these coins. First of all, coming up with the themes was a very participative process. We invited members of the public, we invited born-frees, people that were born after 1994. They're now adults. And we asked them their experiences of the past 25 years of living in South Africa, and whatever, all the information, the data that they came up with, when we looked at it, we realized that it was speaking to the rights, the freedom, and all of that, and it eventually led us to the Bill of Rights. So we decided on the Bill of Rights as the theme, but we went further and invited South African artists, again, young South African, up and coming, to create designs on 5 of these Bills of Rights. And they were blind. So the selection was actually blind by a selection panel that decided which artists' work would go on there.
What I really love is it's a wonderful way to introduce the Constitution to kids, because you printed these little booklets here, and kids, when they go to the shops, can go, I've got this coin, it can go in that part of my booklet.
We're encouraging kids to do exactly that. Yes.
And learning about their rights and responsibilities.
At various places around South Africa, at pop-up stores that the Mint puts up in Sandton and Menlyn Park Mall, malls around the country, people can get these folders, give them to kids. Kids can actually go and look for these coins in the change and put them in there and start to engage with the Bills of Rights, with the Constitution, and learn something about South Africa's Constitution.
The factory for South Africa's money, and our cameras have been in, and you've got furnaces, and there's fire, and there's all kinds of excitement that happens. This is the money factory, South Africa's money factory. You're owned by the Reserve Bank.
That's
so
true.
Technically they tell you how many 10-cent pieces you should mint this year, how many R5 coins you should mint this year.
Correct. We make coins according to demand. So we have to make sure that when coins are needed in the economy, they're available. And just so if you were wondering, we have actually proved that coins are still in need in South Africa, and they are circulating very actively. So vendors in the street, in taxis, people that do small transactions are using a lot of coins. And they circulate on their own without us intervening. Yeah. So they leave the mint, they never come back. And we used to worry that they're just sitting somewhere idle. They're not. They're very actively circulating.
I mean, this R1 coin from 1966, it's got a picture of who's supposed to be Jan van Riebeeck on the back of it.
That's right.
This is still worth R1. I can take it to a shop and I can trade it in. But if I melted it down, I might have 100 rands worth of silver tucked up inside here in this particular series of R1 coins.
500 rand is a bit ambitious.
I said 100 rand.
100?
100.
Still ambitious.
I got ripped off, I told you. But nowadays, the value of a R5 coin has got to be less than R5.
It's much more than R1 that. And this is why over time, with inflation and so on, we've had to adapt and make changes to the metals that we use for coins. So that is a coin with 80% silver in it. There's another one that was produced from 1970 onwards that is made out of nickel. They look exactly the same. They sound different, as you pointed out earlier, but to the layman, you cannot tell the difference. It is much cheaper to make it out of nickel than out of silver.
Which is why you discontinue 1, 2, and 5-cent piece manufacturing.
Over time, yes.
We still have 10-cent pieces, and anybody who walks around the streets will see 10-cent pieces dotted all over the place. People don't even bother picking them up anymore. Are they worth making?
They are, because there's still a demand for them. And just think about it this way. If you are standing at the till and you were expecting your change and it's 10 cents and the cashier looked at you and asked you to walk away, would you?
I'm a cheapskate, no.
Exactly.
20 years ago, I was here in the factory. I was allowed in back then. And I asked a man a question. I said, what are you working on? He said, oh, the new 10 Rand coin.
Yes.
That was 20 years ago, and we don't have one yet.
We would love to make it, but we are just not at the point as yet where it makes sense to have it in South Africa. So there are no current plans for a 10 Rand coin.
But
I think we need to be
in the works for a while.
We need to be patient. The mint will be ready. The technology is there. We are able to. We would be able to get a 10 Rand coin out.
Because you go to Europe, for example, you get 10 euro coins. I mean, banknotes are by their nature fragile beasts.
And you know, to our sister company's credit, the banknote company, they've worked very hard to keep our 10 Rand note durable. So, you know, it's hardly ever the case that you would see a poor quality 10 Rand note.
True.
They're doing a very good job of keeping the 10 Rand note in a good quality.
Also, every year, about 2.5 million of these guys are minted at the mint. And at the moment, if you went into a coin shop or you came to the mint and wanted to buy one, a 1 ounce Kruger Rand would set you back about 20,000 Rand. This is a proof coin. We'll find out about that in a minute. And it sells for about 30,000 Rand. This is the home of the Kruger Rands. And in a country where gold production is falling off a cliff, and I think we're producing about 4 million ounces a year at the moment, what happens on the day when South Africa no longer produces enough gold to make the world's most sought after collectible gold coin, investment coin? We'll talk about that in just a second on Taking Stock.